Okay, welcome once again, everyone. And we're going to start by sharing a little bit about who we are before we even go any further. But our topic tonight is
water management.
Yes, water management. And we know that water is life. So it's important. God represents himself as water. So we know it is very important. But before we go into the topic for today, we're going to share a little bit about ourselves. So we are a family-based ministry currently. We're based in St. Lucia, and which is a small island in the Caribbean, a little paradise island. We are Narrow Life, and we offer support for those moving into the country, and also for the health work. So we offer a prayer line for the spiritual encouragement, and also it is a consistent prayer for the outpost that God has revealed to us that he would like to set up in St. Lucia. So on every Sabbath morning from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. we pray with with others who are in the country living walk or not, who just wants to come and pray and fellowship with us. So we pray for other country livers. We pray for the outpost set up in St. Lucia because we don't yet have one. Yes, it's a small island, but we don't yet have an outpost and a lifestyle center to be able to share the gospel into all the world as a witness. So we've been praying for that every Sabbath morning, and we encourage Christians to come along and pray with us. We also have country living consultations at all stages of the journey. So whether you're just starting, you're just considering it, you want to put up a plan together, give us a call or just email us on our website. Go to our website, Narrow Life, it's on the screen. Go to our website and just shoot us an email, and we can help you understand maybe what you're getting into and wherever you are. Maybe you're already country living and you just need a little bit of help in the water management area, or we're in harvesting, which we're going to be talking about tonight. Just shoot us an email and we're there to assist. We also assist in property development and planning. So when you contact us, we visit your property, we can give you consultation as to where exactly you are, where you want to be, how sustainable you're seeking to be, and we can give you advice on that. We also work in home building and constructions and home furnishings. So if you need your country living home built, give us a call. We do the design homes. We do 3D design. So at least you get to see what your home gonna look like even before you move in. So give us shoot us an email and we're gonna help you in that as well. We also provide outdoor recreation activities for the development of skills and comfort.
I just wanted to know, could we have the pictures of our outdoor recreation?
Oh yeah, we should.
Yeah, I just realized that.
Yes.
Next, tomorrow.
Yes, we will.
We'll put some pictures up.
So we offer the outdoor recreation. We did a lot more of that before COVID. So help persons feel comfortable in nature. What we realize is the more comfortable you are in nature, the more likely it is for you to move out into the country. So for example, persons who may not have all their family encouraged to go out into the country, when you go on a recreational activity in nature, whether it be a hike or a camp, it encourages the someone to move out into the country. Seminars and skills training, and this is one of the reasons we can't wait for the outpost to be set up, because a lot of the skills training would be done there on property. And when the outpost is being built, the homes are being built, the lifestyle center is being built. All of these are workshops that persons can use to learn about the different skills of building, how to fell trees, how to make trees into lumber.
The right time to fell trees.
Yes, the right time to fell trees. All of those are activities that you're going to be set in the setting up of the outpost. These pioneering skills, we know that persons are excited to learn more about them. So as soon as the outpost is being set up, of course, you're going to be getting so much more details on these. We also offer Bible studies. It used to be every Thursday, but as we're doing this seminar, we have postponed it until a later date. Yes. We also assist families in finding country property. And currently we're working on a 15-acre property and we're asking for prayers on this one. There is a balance of about 4 acres missing to close on this particular project. So so it's about 54,000 EC. So if you're interested, shoot us a message.
It borders a river.
Oh yeah, it does.
Beautiful river. Let me tell you.
Yes, I can tell you. One of my favorite places. I camped there once.
That's 2 Sundays ago.
Yes, it's a very beautiful place. So shoot us a message.
If you have a piece of bread that falls into the water, it quickly disappears.
Yeah, the fish eat that all up. So these are some of the things that we offer. So we help families find property and connect with other families in their area that may be able to be of a benefit to them. So before we go into our presentation today, our country living quote for today.
I like that slide. I like this picture.
Yes, I do. What? Rain harvesting. Okay, so our country living quote for today is taken from the book Country Living, page 25, paragraph 2. Your letter tells me, brother, and this is a message from Mrs. White to persons who are leaving Battle Creek at the time. It was advised that they leave Battle Creek and they will to move into the country, and they were doing so. So this is the advice that was given.
Some of them will do it.
Okay. Your letter tells me, my brother, that there are many who are stirred deeply to move out of Battle Creek. There is great need of this working being done. And now those who have felt at last to make a move, let it not be in a rush, in an excitement, or in a rash manner. Okay, or in a way that hereafter rush.
Okay, sorry. Okay,
yes.
Okay, sorry.
Or in a way that hereafter they will deeply regret that they did move out.
Let me tell you, that quote touches my heart because I hear people say, run into the wilderness. And that is not a sustainable way. If you've been looking at what we've been going through so far, there's so much detail. There's so much to consider when moving to the country. And when people say just rush, just run into the wilderness, you know for sure what they're going to do will be something that they will regret.
Yes. So it needs to be considered. There needs to be a plan. Like we said in our earlier meetings, you need to have a plan. You need to consider a lot of your options, your finances, your home, what skills do you have,
your water management plan.
Yes, all of those things need to be taken into consideration.
It's okay to make haste,
yes,
but to rush is a problem.
Yes, and to be rash is a problem as well. So take heed that there shall be no rash movements made in heeding the counsel in moving from Battle Creek. And I'd like to add to that, let us make no rash movements as we see COVID-19 upon us. Do nothing without seeking wisdom of God, who hath promised to give liberally to all who ask, and who upbraideth not.
Amen.
All that anyone can do is to advise and counsel, and then leave those who are convicted in regard to duty to move under divine guidance, and with their whole heart open to learn and obey.
So I'm not supposed to force anybody or try to coerce anybody into moving out into the country right now.
Very good. So our last quote here. Now just now is the time when the perils of the last days are thickening around us. And we need wise men for counselors, not men who will feel it duty to stir up and create disorder, but who cannot possibly give wise counsel and organize and arrange that every stirring up shall bring order out of confusion, and rest and peace in obeying the word of the Lord. Let every man be found in his true place to do some work for the master according to his several abilities.
Amen.
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 And everybody has a work to play.
Yeah, that's why we have several abilities.
Yes, we do. So this is our last passage, and we're going to move into our presentation for this evening. Water management.
All right. Let's pray.
Okay. Sure. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you once again for the opportunity to come before your throne. Lord, as we share the information that you have blessed us with, share the information you have placed that has given us the experience and the opportunity to share, we ask of you in a marked and special way to empty us of self, forgive us for our sins, and help that your Holy Spirit may abide in us, that whatever we share would be a means of drawing someone closer to you and in closer obedience to your call. We thank you once again for your presence here. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Water management. And let me just say here, guys, when you prepare a presentation, you put in the slides or you plan to prepare whatever comes to your mind at the time. However, when persons ask questions, when it's interactive, the presentation can be even more than what the person may intend to present. So feel free to ask as many questions as you want. If I can't answer them, that's all good. Now you give me time to go and research. So ask as many questions as you want. All right.
Just raise your hand in the chat, or you post your comment in the chat or your question.
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy. We want to share as much information as possible. This is why we're doing these seminars for free. Feel free to share it with your friends as well as
share the link if you can.
So you can share the link. So here we go.
All right.
Okay, so we're going to go into our objectives. So today we're going to be looking at what is water management, observation of water on your country living property, how you observe water on your country living property. We're going to also be looking at assessing water needs. And also under intervention, we're going to look at slowing down the water, how we sink and store the water, and how we spread or divert the water. Okay, so these are some of the things that we're going to do in this session. We're going to have a part 2, which is going to be tomorrow evening, where you're going to be hearing a little bit more about rain harvesting and see the 3D design of a home. See the detailed plumbing that goes in there. And I know we'll have a lot of persons asking questions. So stay tuned. So these are some of the things that we are going to look at, and feel free to ask questions, even though it's not here on our objectives. Feel free to ask the question so we can share as much as. So
question, water management. What would you define? How would you define water management?
Water management, I would see water management as how you control the water that you have access to.
Eli had a nice response when I asked him the question. Eli, what did you say when I asked you what is water management? What did you say?
How to control the water and how to let it go where you want it to go and prevent it from going where you don't want it to go.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Thank you so much for that.
So Eli said, is how do you control the water to have it to go where you want it to go? and have it not go where you don't want it to go. I think that's pretty good. But I have a definition though that I got from the internet, and it said it's the activity of movement and control of water resources to minimize the damage to property and life, and to minimize the the efficient beneficial usage. So you want to minimize the damage caused by it, so to maximize its use. However, you still need to learn how to harvest it or how to use it for your benefit. Now, I want to start in the Bible. I want to start Genesis. And if you go to Genesis chapter 2, we see that it says, and the Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. And out of the ground made the Lord God to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted and became into 4 heads. So after God created everything, well, while God is creating everything, one of the things he did, he planted a garden. I say that is amazing. God had already called everything into existence, mature, but he still felt time to come down and have a little one-on-one love and attention gardening. I see that there. Does it say how God watered the garden, Mitchell, from the text?
How God watered the garden? Well, based on my knowledge, I know God used to water the garden with the dew, but I'm guessing based on the passage.
I see somebody's unmuted, so maybe you want to answer.
What? I got a call. Me.
No, okay.
Okay.
The chart.
Okay, so the river. All right.
Yes. So God used a river, somebody or put the answer up to it.
Okay.
God used a river to water the garden. There's a little more detail I see there as well. I don't know if anybody noticed that there were different kinds of trees in the garden. It says he had trees that were good for food, so that's edible plants, and he also had trees that were pleasant to the sight. Mitra, I'm talking to you, babe. How would you describe a tree that's pleasant to the sight? What would a tree have other than fruits that you would think would make it pleasant to the sight?
Fruits would be the first thing that gets to mind.
But however, they already said fruit.
Flowers, make a tree pleasant to the sight. Colors.
Now, did you know? Well, I guess you know, but I ask everybody else. Did you guys know that a successful garden has to have plants that are the only function is to be pleasant to the sight?
Wow.
Yeah. In farming, there are good. Well, they call some bad. Everything is good within the right quantities, but to attract beneficial insects, it's good to have flowers, pollinators. They attract bees, they attract good insects that would predate on the bad ones. So here we see God is already showing us an example of good farming procedure. You don't only plant food, you also have to plant companion species that help your garden in ways that is not directly beneficial to your mouth. Okay, so I saw that there. But however, we're looking at water today, and we see that even God saw the need to have water harvesting systems, if you want to put it that way, or water management principles in his garden. All right. Now, if we continue, we see that more details about the garden. It says the name of the first is Pison, that is it which compasseth the whole land of Havilah. I said that right? Where there is gold, and the gold of the land is good. There is obsidian and the onyx stone, And the name of the second river is Gion, and the same is that compasses the whole land of Ethiopia. The name of the third river is Hiddekel, that is which goeth towards the east, Syria. And the fourth river is Euphrates. And the Lord God took the man and put him in the garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. Now, apart from the names of the rivers, there's two things I see here. One, it tells you about the soil. If you go in, well, it tells you that the soil has gold, it has onyx. So the soil has minerals. That's what I see. I see it was a mineral-rich soil that God used. And I also see that God gave man his occupation from day one. God told man that our responsibility is to care for the earth. And this is what country living is about, other than character development, being able to care for the earth, being able to be at peace with nature. These are some of the lessons that we learned from country. But today we're going to look at rain harvesting, water management, sorry, water management. Let's keep this now. Okay. So, water is plants' most important need. Can somebody tell me why? Why is water the most important need? That's my declaration. If you disagree, that's okay. You can tell me if you disagree, but I say water is the most important. Let me know if you agree why, and if you disagree why. All right, I see.
It transports
Yes.
nutrients.
Yes.
Okay. Plants are water-based. Yes,
That is true.
Plants, majority
80%, 80 to 90% of a plant is water. Imagine that. So plants, yes. So nobody disagreed with me? Because the water is life, let me tell you.
It is life.
It needs all functions of life. The soil cannot absorb nutrients without water. That's correct. That's correct. All right. So I don't know if you know this, but helps manufacture its food. That's also correct. I don't know if you guys know this, but you could find a plant to grow in no matter the location, no matter the deficiency in the soil. There is always a plant that can grow there, be it potassium, nitrogen, whatever deficiency. However, some plants can actually make harvest certain minerals better than others. So then if you have a nitrogen deficiency in a soil, there are plants that can harvest nitrogen and make it plant soluble for the other plants. However, there's no substitute for water, sorry. You have plants that can grow without soil. You have plants that can grow without sunlight. People grow plants indoors. They grow plants in basements. They put artificial lighting. You can grow plants without soil. Aquaponics, that's what aquaponics is about, growing plants without soil. However, there's no plant that grows without water. So water is the most important need of a plant. So it is very important for us to know how to manage it as well, right? Okay. Yes. So I said already, 80% of a plant's weight is water. So that's a lot of water. So one of the most important skills you would need for water management, to manage the water on your property, is the power of observation. To be able to sit down, maybe a glass of grape juice or a glass of tea, but just observe. There's a lot to learn from God, from the principles that he wants to teach us using nature, if we learn to sit down, slow down ourselves, and observe.
And one of the best ways to do that is to observe a forest.
Oh yeah, that's wonderful.
So if you don't yet have a country property and you want to be part of this observation, just go and observe a forest.
Not meditate and try to get into, I don't know about this kind of things, but just to pay attention to what is happening around you. Yes.
And in this particular lesson, observe the water.
That's what we're doing. So, there are some skills, Mitchell, that one would need in observing water. What are they?
So for you to observe, you would need to you're looking for the entry points of the water.
Okay.
So you're looking at a piece of land, you're looking at a piece of forest, you're on your own country living property. You've taken the lesson on camping out on the property. So you're looking around for where is the entry point of the water coming in. That is whether or not you have a river, where is the water on your property
coming from?
Whether it be the rain,
or road,
or drain,
or gully,
or ravine,
or bus pipe.
Yes. So yes, Emma, the water source. So find your water source on your property. And it doesn't, for those who have a river, it's easy to just pick that out. Okay. Or those who have a spring, it's easy to just pinpoint and say, this is it. But water runs on the surface, and it runs under the surface. And there are some telltale signs to know exactly where it is.
Sometimes the water source can be your neighbor's washing machine.
So you just
so you need to know. Where I mean, you may think it's a ravine or a stream, only to find out when that humming sound stops, the water stops as well. So so observe. All right.
And you're looking at your entry points. You're
Entry
looking
point.
at your exit points. Too.
Okay. Explain.
So where is the water leaving the property? So if you have a river.
How is the water leaving the property?
Yes. How is it leaving the property? So if you have a river, you know where your starts, where it ends, and you can follow where it passes through your property to get out of your property. If you have a spring, you can see where it comes out and where it maybe made a ravine
or dig out
a basin or something in the soil. So it's either it settles there. So its exit point is probably where it starts or a little lower down. So you're just observing and paying attention to these things.
Yeah, I say water can also live through evaporation.
Yes. So
if the place is bare and open, and that's why, like, you see the picture we had the before with the one tree and all the grass. That water lives for evaporation. That's a lot of water live for evaporation, and that's something you need to consider, because you would have to mitigate that water loss that you get in because of evaporation. So you need to know.
So you can also see, is water collecting anywhere on your property? And one easy way to know if water is collecting on your property, you feel the mosquitoes. That's one easy way to get onto a property and know
even before you see where it's from.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know water is stagnant somewhere.
It's collecting somewhere.
For when you feel mosquitoes. So that's something else you're looking for. You're paying attention to your property. You're looking for your water source. You're paying attention to where it enters, where it exits, where it's collecting, if any. You're looking at, is it slowing down at a particular point?
Other places in which it is slowing down. Because there are some places will collect, other places will run slowly. And the places it collects and runs slowly, an easy way to tell is those places are the greenest.
Oh, the places that slow down.
Yes, wherever it slows down or wherever it stops. Well, in the center where it collects might not have much life, because that place will become acidic. The amount of water there would cause the soil to be acidic. So it's either you would not have plants or you have acidic plants, but that's for another presentation. However, when the water slows down, those places would be greener. And an easy way to know, as a matter of fact, let's continue.
We did it on the map one time in a separate presentation where we were able to, by looking at Google Earth, we were able to locate water.
Yes.
By just looking at the topography and looking at the greenery on the map.
One of the things I wanted to do then was to use a topography map, but we can maybe do that today if you have time.
Yes. So when the water slows down, one of the things that really jumps out to me when we're having this little discussion is slowing down. You said you find greener trees. So guys, pay attention.
That's something that is.
Won't you want greener trees, garden, So stick a pin in that slowing down part.
Yeah, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Is there a place that's drying very quickly when other places are still wet?
Yes, and those places would be ridges.
Mhm.
The ridge, I always use my hand. This is like a mountain, and the top here of that's my mountain. Is my mountain? That's a good mountain, huh? But okay, that's my mountain. And the top here would be the ridge. So when the rain falls, this will be the first place to dry. So if you maybe want to grow cactus, which is a plant that loves dry or dry tolerant plants, then that would be your location for growing the best cactus. So you need to know where are the places that are wet, where are the places that are dry. And if you want to solve it, you need to know where it is so that you know how to solve it.
Yes.
Yeah, or where you need to apply something to solve it.
So where is the water moving quickly on your property? And where are you noticing water erosion
Yes.
on the property as well?
Yeah.
So these are your observations that you're looking at as it pertains to water on your property, even before you decide what you're going to do as it pertains to your water management.
Any questions so far? I don't see any questions.
Yeah, so feel free to ask questions at any point through this presentation. You could raise your hand. You can also just post your questions in the chat.
Okay, we'll continue.
So in your observation, what do you see here with this particular property?
Yeah, what does that tell you?
What does this, I know we haven't said a lot, but what does this particular property tell you?
They have knowledgeable people in it.
Yes.
You see, I told you. Yeah.
Okay, water is fast moving. Okay.
Flooding happens.
Okay, flooding happens. All right. Okay, what else can we see looking at this particular erosion?
That's
very
correct.
good. Very good.
That's the key to that.
Yeah, we see some erosion happening here.
So can anything be done, or are we doomed because we have a soil that's eroded? Is everything lost?
There is a wet season and a dry season. Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah, nice. There's soil erosion. Yes. Retaining wall needed.
Retaining walls needed. Okay.
So if you're looking at your property and you see this, that's a good thing to consider.
I'd say retaining walls not needed.
Okay.
I'd say retaining walls not needed. But mitigation may be needed.
Okay.
Okay. So a retaining wall would not help the soil percolate because the digging is the problem. Even if you put a retaining wall to hold the banks, the bottom is still being dug. This retaining wall isn't gonna last. So the problem here is the fast movement of the water. If you notice the picture, the grasses are green. However, the river, this erosion bed is dry. There's actually no water in it because an erosion is usually caused by the speed at which the water moves. So one of the things that should be done here, if you notice, there are no stones in the water. There's no stones here. If you go out into nature, if you observe nature, it is almost impossible to find a river without stones in it. Now, we as a generation, let me tell you, we have mitigation. Every year, they send heavy equipment into the rivers to take away the stones and clear it out. The stones are in the river to slow down the water and mitigate the amount of erosion.
Oh, wow. So question, what does the fast moving water indicate? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing?
The fast moving water indicates that you will have water issues. The problem with the fast moving water is that the water does not get enough time to sink into the soil. So that these grasses, no matter how green they look now, they will be looking brown very soon. If you notice, they don't have any trees around. Okay. So this place is absolutely exposed. There are no roots to hold the soil. So what I would do is put stones into the river, put stones back, almost like a retaining wall, but instead of having them on the sides, you have them in the river. It's like speed bumps. Okay. Like speed bumps, you slow down the water. If you have a smooth surface, it'll dig the back of the speed bump. So it'd have to be irregular to cause turbulence in the water, and the more turbulence it will have, then some of the turbulence will cancel out each other. However, if you observe nature, all you need to do is see nature has stones. You may not understand why. You will realize, wait a minute, something wrong here because it doesn't have the stones that I see in nature.
Yes. And another point that somebody made depends too on the stage of the river. If the water moves fast, the stones may further erode the beds and banks.
Depends on how the stones are implemented. If you only put large stones, then yes. But every river has a mixture of different size stones, almost like a sheet of armor on the riverbed, the amount of stones that it have, if you notice well enough. Erosion will happen, don't get me wrong. As long as water is moving quickly, erosion will happen. However, what you want to do is mitigate the erosion. So by bringing the river back to a place where it looks natural, the erosion will slow down. Now, the other thing too is the river is supposed to always have water in it. If the water gets out and gets back dry, that means it is moving too fast.
Another thing that I would consider too is diverting some of that water.
Yeah,
so that I could
use it, yeah.
yes, to use it for purposes.
Yeah.
So if it's,
So
for example,
some dams would help as well.
so if this is an example of a flash flood area, what I would consider is diverting some of the water and slowing it down considerably. Now, this is just a different, looking at this picture differently. We're looking at we're looking at it as a normal river. And now
we assume a lot though.
Yeah, we're just creating scenarios based on the picture. So if this is a ravine due to flash floods, I would maximize the amount of use I have for that water because I know I'm only going to get it rushing through within a space of time.
So you need to, yes.
So I would try my best to see how I could store it and slow it down.
Yes, wonderful.
So now we're going to think about and consider how do we assess our water needs? So
the importance of assessing.
Yes, and the importance of assessing our water needs. So we realize that, hey, we see where our water is traveling. We see, okay, we have a little ravine here. We have a spring or a gully or something.
Or the gully only has water when it rains.
Only when it rains. So now we're going to start assessing our water needs.
How much do I need?
How much water do I need? So then we can understand how much we're storing and for what we're using this water.
So then my question is, what is water used for?
Yeah, what is water used for? We use water for recreational purposes. We use water for power. We use water for industrial uses. So for example, somebody can have a solar, aquaponic system, and they use that for an income. Or
to generate power.
Yes, or to generate power.
Remember the video I showed you of a water-powered sawmill? The guys were using the water to saw boards and saw trees and make boards. Yeah, so water have many uses.
Yes, it does. We can also use it for agricultural purposes. And for country living, we know for sure we're going to use water for agricultural purposes.
Yes.
So yes, and Eli is saying we use it for our homes as well. So these are all of some of the uses that we have for water. So we decided to find out a little bit more about how much water that each individual can use as well.
Yeah. Now, in ascertaining your water needs, you need to know as well whether the water that is available on the land is enough for whatever you plan to do there. Okay, that's something you have to consider. I want to do aquaponics or whatever it is I want to do.
I want a swimming pool.
Do I have enough water on property, access to that water on property to achieve those goals?
Okay.
Yes, right?
What I would say is a good way to use your water is if you have a swimming pool, is when the water gets dirty, you use it for your garden.
Very good.
The swimming pool water also get dirty, but I understand what you say. Yes, recycling the water.
So Eli says recycle water, and we're going to look at that in a while. Average daily water usage, and that is for, I believe that's for the US.
That does not
And
represent me, my love.
and it says that one person can use up to 120 gallons of water in a day in 24 hours. And they have it broken down in these
Indoor and outdoor
categories.
use.
Indoor use and outdoor use. And they've also went a little further and saying we use 65 gallons outdoors, around 14
So
for our
outdoor,
toilets.
using outdoor would mean watering gardens, watering the lawn, washing your car.
Mhm.
Okay.
You also have your water use for the showers or the bathroom, the faucet. And the faucet is in the orange here. The darker, the maroon is for the household cleaning. And other uses, they have like around 7.
Now I know that doesn't represent us because there are some water uses there that we don't have.
Yes. Now, it's good to, when you assessing your water needs, you look at your household.
Yes,
How
your
much
household.
water do you use? You look at your water bill.
Yeah, that's an easy way.
That's
Look at
just
your-
look
yeah,
at your water
bill.
bill for the month for over a year's period of time. So you have a gauge of what's water, how much water your family needs.
Or when you use the most water as well.
So, like my husband was saying, we look at that and we know 100% we don't use 120 gallons of water.
Not at all.
Listen,
Yeah, because we recycle a lot of our water too. I guess because we off-grid, we more conscious of how much water we use.
yeah.
Except, yeah, I would mention the boy name. But yeah, we're more conscious of how much water we use. So we try as much to recycle a lot of our water.
One of the things that we consider when you make this list, remember we spoke of downsizing earlier in in our seminar. Downsizing your water needs is important too. You have to downsize your water needs. So let's say this is your family and you're about to go into the country and you're thinking about, okay, I need to downsize on my water usage. How do you go about doing that?
What would you cut?
Exactly. What would you cut first? Okay, somebody says they'll consider a composting toilet. Wow, nice.
That cuts how many gallons there?
That cuts around 14 gallons out.
Okay.
Okay,
that's brilliant.
So you cut down 14 gallons.
Yeah. So what else can we? What else?
We can cut, well,
household cleaning.
less clothes. Yes, less clothes means less washing.
But hold on, having less clothes doesn't mean you're going to wash them less. You still have to wash the clothes every time you use it. So I don't know.
Use less water to wash.
Yes, but use less. Yeah, I use less water.
Okay, use gray water to flush the toilet and water the garden.
Absolutely.
Very good. Very good. How else can we downsize this person's water supply?
Yes, I think this is absolutely brilliant. They use the gray water to flush toilets and water garden. Yes, I think. Now, you know there are some places in the world where it's actually illegal to do that. Let me tell you. Some places in the world it's actually illegal to use gray water to flush toilets and water your garden.
What else can we cut down on?
I see ponds, love. To me, a pond is not water use.
Well, it depends. It depends.
Oh yeah, because if you have a pond, then you use that pond to water your garden, so that would be water use.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it depends.
But then that would be a good use of water.
Yes.
That
the ponds, yes, that's a good use of water.
Yeah.
But
because it's almost renewable. If you structure a pond well, the water you water the garden can sink underground and get back into the pond.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So thank you so much for that. One of the ways we wanted to share, one of the ways that we reuse water, as Eli was saying.
Recycle.
The way we recycle water is by using an outdoor shower.
The picture is the close view.
Yes, it is. So this is our outdoor shower. Surrounded by
Macaboo banana.
And I really love them.
Yeah.
So they get watered without us having to water them.
And they love water. So bananas, well, all the bananas love water. So they're happy there. And
they get really big and they have a lot when they actually bear.
Once we got one that had 7 bunches of
some really big
so
ones.
Instead of bathing and water in the garden. You could do both one time.
Yeah.
You bathe and water garden.
Yep. So we have in the bottom, we have crates, recycled crates, that we use in the bottom of the in the bottom.
Yeah, not
And-
concrete because it's not our property. So
Yeah. So and then the trees, the banana trees are around it and they get watered.
And it provides privacy as well. Yeah.
We also it's a banana circle. Our shower is in the middle of it, and we also compost around it.
Yes.
So around here, we would put the composted leaves, other
Leaves, they will compost themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is one way to reuse your water in your
sorry.
in your off-grid,
Mhm.
in your country living property.
So it's a shower inside of a banana circle.
Yes,
Okay.
it is. So this is
Alright.
one way you can
And don't
recycle.
mind the bucket you see there, though we have gravity fed water in there. So
Yes. Let me see if I
somebody
get
brought
a
a bucket.
different another picture. You have a picture of it
No,
close up.
no, you don't have.
You don't see the shower head.
Yeah, you don't see.
We have a shower head. So our
Yeah.
water is actually just opened the
Yeah,
tap.
let me tell you.
So, but we're gonna talk about the rain harvesting and how
Yes,
you can get
that's
that
tomorrow.
system
That's tomorrow.
in your home, in your outside home.
Let's continue with that.
Yeah. So in the UK, a household uses, this is the amount per liter, liter use per day. And it's a little bit higher for a household of 149.
Somebody said something.
Oh, somebody said in the chat, well, you would have to be careful about the things you use to bathe with. Yes, we do.
That goes without saying.
Yeah.
That's actually the lifestyle God is calling us to get to be conscious of what you put on, because this is our biggest organ. So then for sure.
Yeah, because and that's a beautiful thing we love about living off grid and being so pay attention to the things that are around you.
I would dare say, even if it does not affect the plants, if it affects you, then that's a problem.
Yeah. So of course you only use environmental friendly things to bathe and take care of ourselves. So whatever we feed ourselves, the plant's supposed to be able to feed as well.
Yes, that's right. So some other things.
We can also find out that in the summer or in the drier season, we tend to use a little bit more water. So hot. Yeah. So we drink a lot more water. The soil needs a lot more water.
So then that would also mean that I would need a plan to provide me water during the time that there is less water.
Yes.
Okay.
So in assessing your water needs, all of those will come up so that you can ensure that you are planning ahead for your water needs even ahead of time. Okay. So in the summer, and for us in the tropics, we have dry season and wet season. So in the dry season, when there's very little water or very little rain, you tend to use more water for the garden or for your home. And in the winter, less water is used.
So in my plan for water level, in assessing my needs, I need to make provisions. I'll say it again, I think that's what I said already, but I'll say differently. I need to make provisions. I need to have water that I do not use when it's raining, that I can get to use when it's not raining, when it's dry.
Yes.
Because I can't, especially if you want to go country living off grid, and I see a lot of people want to go country living off grid. Now that is a different question. I enjoy it though. But if you plan on going country living off grid, you do not want to be the one person that has this beautiful tomato plant, and the tomato plants are wonderful, and then the dry season hits, and then the tomato plants just kind of die out, and you bitter, so you need to assess your needs, and you need to make plans for times, especially when the rainfall is not as high. And that is for people that do not have a river. Because when we said assess your sources, or water source may not necessarily be a river.
Yeah.
A river is wonderful. A river is gold and silver.
Yes.
But some of us, we don't have gold and silver.
So we have to do with what we have.
Yeah.
So when you have assessed your water needs and you have realized what you're looking for, you need to now find out how do you
sink it,
slow it down,
Sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Then you.
Sink it, and then you spread it.
Because that's what God created the water to do.
Yes, the water's supposed to go into the ground, not just run on the surface.
So technically, if I want to store water, especially for my garden, it instead of just storing it in tanks, the better thing to do would just be to store it in the ground where God would have wanted it to be in the first place.
That's where it was always supposed to be. It's either was in the sky, falling down on the surface, or in the ground.
Okay.
However, the in the ground part is where we have the problem. If you look at how we do developments today, and I have the two pictures there to compare. We build our roads, and one of the first things you want on a road, let me tell you, if you do not build a gutter, it's a road, people are going to call it all kinds of names, but gutters are important. However, when we build gutters, our aim is to get rid of that water as quickly as possible. So one, we cover the surface with impervious surface. So that means the water can't go through the surface. That is asphalt, concrete. So we cover as a lot of the surface, and parking lots is another example. We cover our surfaces that the water can't sink in. So what happens? Instead of the water sinking in, it stays on the surface. And that's one of the causes for flash flooding, the water's inability to sink. So then we cover our surfaces, we build drains, we get rid of the water, and guess what we do right after that? We pay a bill to get that water back onto the property to be used. All right, so now we've been living for 7 years now without pipe-borne water because we understand the principle. Do not get rid of the water in your drain, in your gutters and drains as quickly as possible, and then pay a bill to bring it back. That's not wise. However, what we can do is slow down the water, allow it to sink in, and when needed, we spread it.
Okay, so if we look at the two pictures, nature, when the water falls, there is a wide surface for the water to be absorbed. So that's why you would notice in a forest, there are beautiful trees and greener grass because the water gets to absorb. But in our development areas, water does not get to be absorbed because it's covered with whatever concrete, like my husband was saying. So there is very minimal places where the water can actually get into the soil.
So all the water stays on the surface, piles up, and run down the hill.
And then you need the drains because we understand that fast moving water is not what you're looking for.
No.
So you need the drains to get that water out.
Yeah. Now, by having the water in large quantities and moving fast, that is a cause for disaster. The water goes down the hill quickly. So guess what? At the bottom of the hill, we'll have more water than the top because all the water is rushing down to have that convention down in the bottom there. So down in the bottom, we'll have a lot of flooding. So then what if only we were able to allow as much of the water as possible to sink in the soil, it would have less water downstream causing problems. And that water would slowly trickle out of the ground, giving us natural springs. So then our developments have most of the water running on the surface. However, it's better to have water running below the surface as well.
Yeah, so your springs and your rivers, this is where they actually get those those sources.
Yeah, and sometimes if the land is very dry, anyway, that's another one.
Okay, so somebody asked, how can they get the video? You just check out our website, Narrowway Life, and you just go into seminars, country living seminar, and you will be able to get that.
Yes.
So now let's talk about slowing down. So realize our problem was running down too quickly, not getting enough time to percolate into the soil. So let's slow it down a little bit.
All right. So in the picture here, we see a barren wasteland. What's the problem there? Can somebody tell me what's the problem with this picture? There are no trees. That is not the problem.
There's a lot of water.
That's a symptom. There is water. So there should be trees. What's happening there? I see no trees, but that is not no trees. Okay, that's actually a cause as well. I'll be honest. That's actually a cause. but I want to treat it as a symptom for now. Just for the sake of discussion, we'll treat the no trees as a symptom. So what is the problem here? Flooding, yeah, flooding is a problem.
There is nothing to hold or slow down the water.
Correct. There is nothing to slow down the water. One of the reasons for desertification is the land's inability to allow the water to infiltrate the soil. It would rain and cause flash floods and be dry desert the following day.
Okay. And that's where you have the issues with the erosion.
So then the speed at which the water moves, the amount of water is moving, its inability to be absorbed into the soil is what causes the flash flooding and what causes the erosion. Now the erosion is also caused because the water doesn't penetrate. So water is also a binding agent for soil. So if the water molecules are not in the soil acts more like a dust or like mud. So then that water would quickly and easily erode away.
One of the things that also point out that the trees would be of a good assistance with is to help the water to actually stay and percolate. So the trees actually would have slowed down the water as well. That would be one of the ways the water would get slowed down.
Another thing to consider is that the best soil causes you to lose a lot of your nutrients. Now, I don't know what it is in the Caribbean, but we have this thing for best soils. Let me tell you, if a blade of grass is growing next to the house, it needs to go. we need to see brown, nice, clean dirt. Yeah, that is one problem we have in the Caribbean. If there were more trees, more shrubbery there, eventually it would well, not eventually, it would help in slowing down the water on the surface. And the other thing it would do, it would minimize the amount of evaporation. So we have two sources. In what way do trees help slow? Oh yeah, in what way do trees help slow water down? One way trees help slow water down is to minimize evaporation. Okay.
And it's slowing it down. It's like think of it like an umbrella. It bounces off of the leaves. It gets into the soil and it goes. It's the drops are much smaller. If you like to see. So it gets to drip down, and the roots allow it to suck the water in.
Yeah. So one thing, best soil. What happens to best soil? When the rain comes from the sky at full speed and hits the ground, it's almost like little bombs hitting the surface of the soil. So it actually breaks up the soil and dislodges. I see a hand, fast off.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, another way the tree helps is it allows the place to stay fresh longer, as opposed to direct heat from the sun where you have evaporation happening even faster. So that will help slow down the water and conserve the water a little bit longer.
Yes. The other thing that the trees do, trees encourage, thank you. Trees encourage condensation. So there'll be this pocket of moist air that is moving under the canopy. So then trees help in that way. Now we're going to look at, next we're going to look at what are the land features you could implement to slow down the water on the surface. Okay. However, we also need to consider that, well, it's not in the slides, and that's why I like questions, that having trees, even the trunks of trees, a tree fall, it turns across, it's between two trees. It now is a buffer, a barrier to stop water from, but evaporation is the main function that comes to mind right now. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Okay, another thing that we're going to look at is how we're going to sink the water and store it.
Okay.
How do we sink the water and store it? Okay, how do we sink the water and store it? He's putting the phone. I don't know what.
Yeah, he's taking out it. Okay.
Let's just do that. Sorry about that.
Yeah, they have children, they understand.
Okay, so 2 ways to store water.
Well, I should have put 2 places to store
Oh,
water.
2 places, sorry.
Yeah. So 2 places to store water is one below the ground.
Mhm.
That's what God does. That's where we get our aquifers. Many people in Texas. Yeah, Texas. What's the name of the place the lady had a testimony? Arizona.
Mhm.
Yes, it's quite popular in America, especially in the South, to drill down into the earth for water. So if you could drill down there to get it, might be a good place to store it as well.
Mhm. To
So
allow.
can we store water on the ground?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. Another place you can store water is above ground. Now, tomorrow we're going to look at soil water above ground. However, today we're going to look at how we store water underground or in ground or at surface level. Okay? So we have a picture here of a diagram, somebody's plan of how they want to store water. Can anybody see the feature? Is it visible?
Yes, I can. It's a little pond, I think, right there.
Yes.
A pond right over
Well,
there.
there's more than one. There's 2 ponds as a matter of fact.
Okay, where's, oh, I see the
There's
other
a
one.
pond in zone 2 with fish and ducks, and there's a pond with a jetty.
In zone 5.
Yes. Now, I see we have a lot of bright people in here, so I will ask questions instead of speaking, and if you need help, I'll try and help. So how can a pond help in storing water below the surface? Not above, that's obvious. Below the surface, how can a pond help store water below the surface?
If I can make a guess, is it possible that there's a layer below the pond where it's settling that's hard and it's not allowing the water to go down any further?
You asking a question?
I'm suggesting that that's a possibility.
Okay.
So it allows the water to go down slowly. Versus, okay.
Somebody else was speaking.
No, I was just saying there's slow seepage under the ground, so you get the water being stored on various places, but not at a quick level where it dries up. So you have water seepage throughout the ground, so it's stored in the ground.
Wonderful. All right, so you both are correct. So if your pond is built in rock, it would have the minimal amount of seepage. Rock allows the I attributed myself. The rock allows the minimum amount of seepage. Now, if you have a pond liner, then you would stop all of that seepage. You'd stop all of the seepage that would naturally happen. Clay is kind of in the middle. Clay allows a little bit of seepage. Stone allows less. However, sand allows the most seepage. As a matter of fact, you may have a tough time keeping the water in the sand area. So all the water in the sandy area is getting stored underground. When it gets stored underground, it helps with your water table. So the higher water table, the easier the plants can harvest that water. So you actually may not even need to water the plants, especially on the pond. What's the phone? The phone? Okay, off the live easy. So our phone just made a sound, so let's see what we can do about that. So you're going to go platform now. No, okay.
Yeah, to change the.
Yeah. All right, guys.
So let me just
just
give me 1 second. Let me
continue.
Change the. You just change
another camera.
Yeah.
Oh, we can use a different. Oh, another camera.
Yeah.
Where am I? You're the wrong place. You're left to right.
Doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. I'm ready. I try to get to. Okay. All right. So sorry about that. Okay, so by slowing down the water, it allows the water to not just run on the surface, but infiltrates the soil, feeding your plants and soil life. You ever notice how everything is green when it's raining?
And always next to the river too.
Yes, or everything next to the river.
Always
Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the godly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, but his delight. Okay, skip forward. Ye shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water that bringeth forth fruit in due season. His leaves shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. So then, water management, having water in the soil, having water accessible to you is wonderful. Now, if you can store it in the soil, then you also need to prevent it from being evaporated. However, but let's just for a while, just focus on ponds. Okay? Okay. All right, ponds. There are three basic, really two, but you could kind of merge two into one and make three. So there are three ways to make a pond to store water. One is excavation. That's the blue one up here. So that's excavation. You have a flat surface. That's brown. Oh, I'm so sorry. I said blue. So you have the brown one. Sorry about that. So you have a flat landscape. If you're lucky to have a flat landscape, you can actually dig a depression in the soil, put the dirt on the side, and you could have a pond. What that also helps you know, having a pond on a flat surface, is the height of your water table. If the surface is flat, whatever height the water is in the pond, it is also that same height under the ground, provided you have ways of mitigating evaporation.
Should a pond be or not be in certain zones?
Zones, it depends on you and your preference. If you really love water and you want your pond in your zone 1, then that means you love water and you need a mosquito net. Okay.
Okay.
I see somebody raise their hand.
Go ahead.
I wasn't here earlier, so I don't know if this question was raised already, but
Yeah.
how do you dig to get water from a pond? Because I was wondering if it is possible to dig it by hand instead of using an excavator.
For a
Just
pond.
now, repeat that question. How deep should you dig the pond, or how deep should you dig to get water?
How deep to get the water? How deep
Okay.
to dig to get the water?
That's a survival question. Huh? So I'll answer you. How dig you deep to get water is dependent on how close you are to water source, or it's also dependent on the height of the water table in the area that you are. So if you plan on digging to get water, then you need to go to a low-lying area. If you're up on a mountain trying to dig to get water, tough luck. The only way you may get water if you're up on a mountain is if you are lucky enough, and that is, let me tell you, that is maybe 1 in 100. Love, I'm going this way. Yes. 1 in 100 that you find an actual aquifer or vein of water, a spring. So a spring is usually a body of water stored in a place. The water seeps, and there is a opening, well, not a cavity in the soil that the water collects in, and then there's a crack that the water seeps through, and then that crack produces what's the word I'm looking for now? Not a ravine, a spring. That's the word, a spring. So if you're up on a mountain, you need to be very lucky to actually dig and get a spring. That's almost impossible. However, if you want to dig to find water, you could dig low line. If I remember a text, there's when the river was turned to blood during the time of Moses, the Bible says that they dug a hole next to the river. Check it out. They dug a hole next to the river, and they used the sand from the river basically to filter out the water so that they could get water to drink. Check it out.
Yeah, so it can be used, but you have to check your area to find out what's the water.
Yeah, what the table is like. Yeah.
So if it's a place that is green in a low-lying area, there's more likely that your water table is a little higher than lower.
Yeah. So if you're looking for water, 2 things you can do. My wife says, 1, Guys, look for the places that trees are the greenest. Now, there are some kinds of trees that are naturally green, so you will have to know that for your area. There are trees called evergreen. So they're green, dark green all the time. However, you need to find out what trees are green. And the other thing to do is find a depression. Find a depression in the soil. A place where the hills come down into some kind of valley. Or even a dry riverbed can have water running below the surface. Okay, however, that water would need to be filtered and treated. So don't drink it straight. But thanks for the question. So
Thank you.
yeah. So one thing is to dig a cavity basically in a soil, and you could store water that way. The other way is to build an embankment. So you have a valley-ish, a depression where the water passes through by exit on the other end. Remember we said no where the water enters and where it exits. So by damming the back where the water exits, you actually creating a pond just by damming it. Because you're actually creating a barrier that the water will not pass through. But another caution here, that back barrier needs to be rammed really well. And you also need to take off organic matter. So topsoil needs to be dug. As a matter of fact, if you look at the picture, it's not a good illustration of how to dig a pond. However, it makes the point of the kinds. But if you look at the picture, even the green one, there should have been a depression dug so that all the topsoil organic matter would be taken off. Because if that organic matter is left, when it decays, it creates cavities that the water will get through, and your embankment or your dam would fill. Okay. And the third one is kind of like a combination of the two. You could dig a little and block a little, and you could have a pond that way. I should say ponds should not be placed on steep areas or near a cliff or anything like that. Yeah. So you might lose more than the pond if you put your pond near the cliff. Water is very heavy. This should not be underestimated. Okay. However, a pond is a great way of trapping large bodies of water. And it's a great boost to the ecosystem in your area. You'll find birds, dragonflies. If you get fish in there, that's even good. That fish water is nutrient dense and can be used for water in your garden. If you have fish in there, you could also take the fish, bury it in the soil, plant tomatoes above it.
Okay. So what is a pond? What is water used for? Are we talking about gardening or for drinking?
We're talking about gardening for now.
Yes.
For now, we're talking about gardening. I do not recommend drinking pond water.
Yeah. So that would be a good way to store water for your garden and agricultural purposes.
Except if you have maybe
filtration
device, I'd say.
That's still not
system, yeah. Except, well, it depends on your situation, but we don't want country living. So if in terms of country living, we're talking about long-term plans. So then drinking pond water is not for a long-term plan for drinking. However, in country living, our needs for water is not only to drink.
Yeah, so it's for our growing our food. So when you're long-term thinking of storing water for your food, especially in the dry season, having that extra water on the property,
on reserve
is very important.
Yeah, having a pond can also be a beautiful addition to a garden. If you look at a picture here, this is absolutely gorgeous.
Yes.
The birds will come and bathe in there. You could just sit on the chair and watch the birds fly by, watch them come and bathe. You could have fish in there. And I was saying earlier that a good principle is a good farming practice is to bury a fish under tomato plants. I can't remember what the mineral is that the fish has. I'm so sorry, but yeah, that's a good.
Okay. Well, boiled water or water tank collection from the roof. Okay. We will be actually doing that tomorrow. We actually have a 3D drawing that we will show you
how
the rain harvesting system and the storage as well. So you can have water in your home.
Which is what we are.
Yes, which is actually the system that we have at
Mhm.
home, where we have
So-
water outside in our shower, we have a tap outside, and we still have water coming inside.
Inside the house.
Okay,
It's
so
about 6 years old.
yeah,
Yeah,
7
we've
years
been
now.
drinking rainwater for 7 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you saying bury a fish under your tomato plant? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That does your
Yeah, so
tomatoes
even if
well.
you don't eat fish, there's still room for having fish
If you have a
if you have
pond.
a pond. And the other thing too, the fish water is absolutely nutrient dense. So that's also added feature.
So how do we spread and divert the water? So we're still talking about our garden for
Mhm.
now, because we want to be able to store water not only for ourselves to drink in the inside, but also for the purpose of our garden. And if we can keep our garden always full of water, we are very good at, we will have food in the long term.
Now, I must say, in spraying and diverting the water, there are ways to spray and divert that still allow the water to sip and to sink. I see a hand.
Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I was just saying another purpose for your water and your pond is not only for your garden, but also for your animals. You have
yes.
animals on the property.
Yes, that is so true. And ducks as well. Ducks really love water. So yeah, thank you for that. Yes. Wow.
Yeah.
And
just
a
for the
cow,
animals.
if you have a cow for your lawnmower, a cow will drink way more water than you. So whatever your water need is, I think you have to multiply it by 20 or something.
For animals.
Yeah, for a cow. Yeah. I'm not sure the number, but I know it's significantly higher than a human being.
So how do we spread and divert that water? We found
Okay.
out we could keep it in one place of the pond, but
Okay.
how can we spread it and divert it?
Mhm.
So we can use water sprinkler systems
Or drip irrigation
or drip irrigation.
or hoses.
So all of these are ways to take the water from one place. You can take it from your pond and decide to have it spread on your property in this way.
The water can is kind of labor intensive. It's not my preferred method. It's better to set up a drip irrigation system. And the other thing about watering cans is that not every plant likes water on their leaves. A tomato plant, for example, does not like to be wet. The tomato is actually rather water only at the root level. And sometimes you could lose your tomato because it was growing the dry season, and then when the rain starts falling, it could get blight. So yeah.
So another way that you can spread and sink your water is by using
Swales. And that's a passive system. It does it on its own. All you have to do is set it up. So it doesn't require you walking around or shifting hoses or connecting hoses, opening pipes. Swell system. And the other thing too, it spreads, but it also allows the water to sink. Now, a swell is a low level or hollow depression in the ground.
So it's not a drain.
No.
You're not trying to get rid of the water.
Yes. The difference. What's the difference between a swell and drain now?
I'm asking you.
Okay. I saw it did that. All right. The drain allows the water to flow down. Okay. The drain says, water, this is the way out. Get out of it. However, the swell is like, hey, water, I'm your friend. Can you hang around with me? So then the swell would be on a level surface.
Okay.
The swell follows the contour of the land. We'll explain that just now.
Okay, so the swale, the difference between the swale and the drain is the drain is tilted, like get out.
The drain says, I don't like you, come out of it. Why are you even coming around?
The swale is, it wants to be on the same level with the land to keep it inside. Okay.
Yeah. So if you plan on growing fruit trees, like you have a piece of property and you want to grow a lot of fruit trees, you need a lot of water to water fruit trees. However, you could plant your fruit trees, if you look at the picture here, on the berm of the swale. I guess I have to explain that just now.
Which is here.
Yeah, let's go to the next slide. Yeah, so that they understand.
It'll be helpful to do.
All right. So naturally, you would have water running down the surface of the land, singing to get to the party in the river. So the water believes there's some wonderful thing happening down in the bottom here that I need to get to. So then, however, you want to say, water, no, stay here with me. I'm your friend. I need you right here on my property. So one of the things you can do is to swell. So you have a depression, a level depression in the soil. That's a cross section. And you could plant your fruit trees on the boom, that is the hill part at the back of the swale. So you, instead of the water just running straight down, the water now have to stop and slow down
a little bit,
and sink into the soil.
and then your fruit trees will be like, awesome, I get to have a drink of water while you're at it.
Yes, wonderful. So now there are things you can do with your soil. You could plant acidic plants inside the soil, acidic soil loving plants. Dashing would love to be inside of the soil. Some berries would love to be inside the soil. However, the plants that does not like waterlogged soil or acidic soil would plant on the boom. Yeah, okay. Swales should not be on steep slopes. Steep slopes are best left alone. All right. If you have a steep slope on your property, I guess you could terrace it too, but that's quite labor intensive and quite a lot of work. If you have a steep slope on your property, it's good to go there and observe nature. Yeah, don't interfere with the steep slopes so much, because if you're not really knowledgeable about what you're doing, you might cause more damage than good. And yeah, an example of that was in Fonsejac a couple of years ago. There was a steep slope that they were planting tubers on. They were planting dashing on it, and the entire thing slid out, causing a whole bunch of mudslides, devastated. People died just because they were planting the wrong crop on a steep slope.
So looking at swales again.
The benefits of swales, just like the sister mentioned earlier, the swales allow the water to seep into the ground, and it recharges the aquifers, it recharges the groundwater. So a lot of places like Texas where they have, or California where they have all that water being lost to evaporation, if they were willing to swale the slopes or the hillsides, not mountainsides, they would now be charging back those aquifers that the water levels will be able to remain, and the water will be underground. And the water underground is not susceptible to evaporation. So that's another good thing as well.
So it's a good thing to invest in your groundwater.
Yeah, I see a hand again.
Hi, Sam, go ahead.
Yes, I was just asking, how about the concern of breeding mosquitoes?
For the
swale?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that will not be an issue, because remember the swale doesn't have a pond liner in the bottom. The water goes into the soil. You just don't want it to run on the surface to the point where it can't get into the soil. You slow it down so that it can infiltrate the soil.
Okay, so it could seep through the soil slowly.
Yes, so the water will not stay. It will, yes, will actually seep into the soil.
Okay.
Yeah. So you want to see it disappear after some time.
Yeah.
You don't want to see it's
not a pond.
Sleeping. It's not a pond. So it's just to slow down your water. So what we're going to look at now is how to know the best places to put your swales.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that you'd have to take into consideration for putting a swale is you have to pay attention to the contours of the property. Do you put water in the swale or only rainwater?
You do not put water in the swale, you allow the rainwater to get in the swale. However, I guess depends on your situation, you may want to put water in the swale, because an easy way to flood, to water your garden, if you have your swale going a long distance, you may not need to put a hose the entire distance. You can just put the water from one end of the swale. Because it's level, it will get to the other side, and you water your plants that way. So yes, you can, depending on the situation, you can use a swale to divert. That's what it does, diverts the water. So it can be diverting water that you get from the rainfall, or diverting water that you actually add onto the soil, add onto the land. So that's a very good question. So it can do both.
Any other questions so far concerning
Somebody say what's a
swaling?
swale? So I got to go over that again.
Okay, so a swale is a depression.
Go back.
Let me see if I get the picture. So if you could see the
Back again.
map. Okay, let me go back again.
Yeah.
This.
So yes, what you can see the mouse?
Yeah, where you see the mouse running,
Yeah.
this is a swale.
Yeah, that's a swale.
If you realize it is not a drain.
Yeah. So it's an interruption in the natural flow of the water downstream.
And if you notice, there's a more than one going all the way down. It's not very deep. If you notice, there are some places in it that is already looking like it's drying up already.
Yeah.
Because it's, so then the water just stays in it. So if you look at here, it's basically supposed to drink the water. You're slowing it down so the water can actually stay. So it's basically an indentation in the natural flow of things so that the water can be absorbed into the ground.
And again, I repeat, swales are not for steep slopes.
Yes, and also this is especially for persons who don't have water sources, for example, a river. So your property has no river, you have no spring, and you want to have a garden all year round. Well, that's for the tropics, for those who can, and you want to have water available to you.
Wow.
This would be a very good way to keep your water for your garden.
As you said, I love you, but thank you, my mind. The other thing, another way you could apply a swaling principle that may not necessarily be a swale is to have your garden beds on contour. Now, after explaining what a contour is, but some people may have their garden beds go, like my fingers, go downhill. So my fingers will be the beds, and that'll be the drain between the beds. So some people have their garden beds go downhill, and when it rains, the rain quickly washes down the hill, and it goes with all your fertility as well. However, if you have your beds level on contour, I guess after,
yeah, we'll do the contour in a while. One of the things I want to point out as it pertains to water, do you notice, and I think many persons know, you usually find a lot of mineral in your river beds, especially at the delta of the river. The reason for that is because
what is the delta of the river?
Where it meets the sea, where the river meets the sea. People usually take a lot of that soil for them to plant and do a lot of things because there's a lot of minerals in there.
Yes.
This is because it took it away from the soil all the way where it started.
Yeah, it washed it away.
All the way down. So that is think of trying to stop that rushing away of your minerals by using these methods. So let's go back into the contour and then we will do a little bit more on swaling so you can understand it a little bit better.
So what is that, Michelle?
So this is a terrain map and
also called
a topographical map.
Also called
I don't know.
Contour map.
Okay. So it helps you to understand where the hills are, where the flat places are, where the valleys are. Basically the gradients of the land.
Where the steep places are as well. So that's an important thing. If you can find, I know there are places that you can't find a topographical map for, but if you already have your property, one of the things you can do is to find wherever your land registrar or whatever is, to see if you could find a topographical map. And I explain, well, the picture shows how the map works. So the map works by having lines at set intervals. Now on this map, you see every 500 feet, there's a mark. So wherever 500 feet falls, what can understand that? Wherever 500 feet falls on elevation, it will be represented by a blue line. Okay, so then what the topographical map can also show you is the terrain of the soil. If you look here in the back, the lines are closer together because the 500 feet gets you get to 500 feet sooner. That's a good word?
Mhm.
Yeah. On the right, that's right. On the right,
As you keep climbing.
yeah, on the right, you see that the lines are further apart. So the further apart the lines are, the flatter the soil is.
So what I would see from that, if I were to pour water here, it would run down faster here.
That's right.
Than it would on this side.
Oh, correct.
So for me to keep my water, I would want to put some little indentations here to slow it down at given areas and given interval. So if it runs down at 1 mile an hour, I want to cut it down to maybe 50 miles an hour.
You said that the other way.
Yeah, so I'm trying to slow down my water from going.
I understand.
Yes.
So okay, so then here are some of the things you can do. Now, this is a picture from above. So the bottom of the picture is like you're standing up on a mountain. If you look at the arrows show that the water is running downhill. Now, if you could see my mouse, you could see that there are some places that do not get water. If you could see the mouse here, these places dry quickly. So you do not get any water coming to those places. When the rain falls, these places dry quickly. All the water goes down into the bottom here, is depression, and exits. So if I were to put a dam, except if it's a river, it may be illegal to dam it, but slightly to a side, not directly in the path, you could have the dam. Now, the beautiful thing about the swell follows contour. So if this black line here, everybody can see my pointer, right? So if this black line here was a swell, it would allow the water. Oh, here we go. No, you didn't tell me that. There we go. So if this black line here, this red line here, is the contour. If that was a swell, let me tell you, I need to do swell classes.
So if you put a swell right here.
It will allow the water, instead of rushing all the way down here, to spread on that surface. And that's passive. That's not something you have to be policing all the time. The only issue here is the fact that you cannot just put one dam here. That's the only thing, because the amount of pressure that place would get, it would fail. So then you would have to have a series of swales to slow it down
before it gets to the faster moving water.
And you'd also need to add keyways to give it control places for it to flow down as well.
So let's look at the map again.
Yeah.
And see if we can understand. These here
would be dry. That area there, just now. Okay. Before that, let me do that. The area up here, on top of that hill, would remain dry. If you have trees growing up here, those trees would grow slower than the trees you have down in this wetter spot here. So then what the swell does, instead of the water flowing downhill, boy, let me tell you, guys, I hope you understand this. That's supposed to be an arrow, guys. It's not arrow, it's horrible. Instead of the water going straight downhill here, the swell allows for it to spread over the surface. Any question?
Will your swell erode over time?
Yes, it will, and that's wonderful that it erodes over time. Because why would it erode over time? Because eventually, if you keep adding organic matter in there, your swell will disappear. But by then, you should have enough trees and things established that you will not even need the swell anymore. But if you have a place like this and you want to plant trees, then a wonderful way to share the water evenly so all grow together until the harvest. Sorry, did it? So would be a wonderful way to do that. Because you don't only want trees that are growing by the rivers of water to bring fruit. in due season. You want your entire property to bring forth fruit in due season.
So you're basically sharing the water so that
Yeah.
the ridges
Yeah.
more or less would have an equal access to this water.
Yeah.
Now,
Now,
just this area.
yeah. The other question, what your question also brings to mind is that you need to take in, remember we said observe, you also need to take into consideration the amount of water that passes through the place you want to swale. So if there's a lot of water passing through the place you want to swale, simply having soil as an embankment may not be enough. You may actually have to build a stone or stone barrier. Okay, so now in order to build a swale, you need to be able to find the contour. Remember we saw the contour on the lines? Okay, let me go back. Go back. Yeah, those lines there. Oh, that's it. Those lines here are the contour lines, and they show you the elevation wherever if this is 1,500 feet here, wherever 1,500 feet goes all around the mountain, then that will be represented by the 1,500 feet mark. Now you can also, that's not in this, you can also do terrain mapping like that. If you're looking at a map, that's too much information. Okay, if you're looking at a map, you could help find your location on a map by looking at the terrain and seeing the similarities between the map and what is around you. So that's especially if you're lost, but that's another thing. So we're looking at tools for finding contour. The easiest yet most expensive way is the laser level. The cheaper, I would say maybe would be the water level and the A-frame, because it could be like A-frame.
So this is the A-frame,
yeah.
this is the laser level, and this is the
water level.
Water level. So we're going to go into them a little bit.
The water level first. What's the time now? Yeah. Okay, so water level. This is a water level. You could basically buy a clear hose, because I never use that. From my experience in construction, just buy a clear hose long enough.
And colored water.
Yeah, so
food coloring.
To kill the sound.
Okay, so let us look at
how to use
the laser level.
The water level.
Oh yes, sorry, water level to
find contour. You need to click about. Arrow pointed up portion. There we go. So in my hand is no, didn't you kill our sound? You guys can hear me? Oh no.
oh, okay.
The battery angle. You like, don't put on the generator. Don't put on the generator. Oh no. So in my hand, I have a clear hose, and that's what I'm going to use for laser level. The A-frame is on the floor, so we're going to use the A-frame in a while. Okay. Yeah, give me my phone. I'm so sorry. Sorry, guys, of good living.
So
explain this.
We're looking at this. Let me start this over.
Yeah. You know. Okay. So everybody can hear me?
Yes.
If you can hear me, okay, good. I see that going up now. Okay. So in my hand, I have a clear tube or clear hose. All right. The longer it is, then that means the further you could use the laser level, the water level. So it's filled with water. I have clear water, but if you have color in the water, then it would make it even more feasible. We'll look at the A-frame in a while. That's Ellie. Say hello, Ellie. All right. So what I did, I marked how deep I'm gonna push it into the ground. So that's the first peg that I'm gonna use. I mark how deep I'm gonna put it into the ground. Then the second thing I do is mark on the top of the stick a height. Now it could be any height of your choosing, but you want a height that you can share on both of the sticks. Let me tell you, I'll tell you what makes sense. The reason why I'm cutting the top is because I'm going to be ramming it into the ground. So I cut the top so that the top of the stick wouldn't burst open. And I'm blunting the other end of the stick so that when I'm finding level, it will not go into the soil, it will rest on the surface. So that's why I'm blunting the other end. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to actually match the heights, and then I'll use the hose and the height of the water to find level. Okay, you have to be able to find level. So let's see that. You have no sound of that. Okay. Yeah, so I realized the place I marked was too high. So I brought the mark down a little. So yeah, you're just as you go along. So then here I go, let me try again. Let me pause it. Use the phone. All right, so I'm tracing that mark to the other stick. So these two will be what I'm going to use to find the level, the contour, or a level surface, level line on the surface. So I have both of them at the same height. One is 3 inches longer because I'm going to sink it 3 inches into the soil. It will be the one that remains. And the second one is going to be moved around to find level. Now, in the hose, I guess I'll wait. So I'm tipping it onto the first stick because I do not want it to move. If the hose drops, then it will change the reading on the other side. Yeah, so I get my help. Now I use clear tip because clear tip is transparent.
So you can actually
You can see, yeah. So it's not gonna prevent you could tie it if you want, but I think clear tip is best. So I use clear tip, and that's what I had anyway.
So this is basically how you don't want to purchase a water level.
Yeah.
This is your makeshift water
Yeah.
level. So you should be seeing the water. We can use.
Yeah. So if you look clearly, you could see the water. It's a little low. I have to top it up in a while. So, because I have two options. One, raise the hose on the other side higher to match the water, or put some water in it. Yeah, if you look, yeah, you can see the water going up and down. Now, the beautiful thing, this uses a principle that water always remains at the same level. Yeah, the clear tip is transparent, that's why I use it. So water remains at the same level. If you have water in a cup, one side of the cup will never be higher than the other side, okay? So that's the principle you said. So now I'm just gonna put them at the same height and tip the other side. I have too much video. Okay. So I'm tipping the other side because neither side can, so that neither side can move.
Now you don't want to lose your water.
Yeah, you don't want the hose to fall down on the ground and lose your water. But if one side can shift on the stick that you use in the final contour, then it will give you a wrong reading. So both of them get tipped. So one, I sink to the ground to the height. So I sink it to the, remember the mark where I took out the back, where the back begins would be level with the top of the surface. And I just rest the other stick by it to ensure that it's accurate. And I'm gonna fill both of them. Instead of remember I could have raised the hose higher to get them at the same height. I chose to fill it instead. So I'm just gonna add some water. Now I'm spreading the hose out because you have to ensure that it doesn't have bubbles. If it has bubbles, it will not work. The bubbles give a wrong reading. So I'm filling the water to get both of them at the same level. And I want them to be at the level of where I took off the back on the tree. So when I go forward, as long as the water on this end is at the back level, I know it's the same height on the other side, but it's also good to have help, to have somebody with you. So yeah, I see it missing all the water, so I add a little more water in there. Yeah, okay, I see that. It's at the level now. I can see, you said you couldn't see it. I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it. So boom, at the same level. And I'm Ellie, my helper, ensuring everything is done right.
Yeah, I can see it right here.
Yeah, I can see it.
And right here.
All right.
So now
So
we
now I
can
can
get
move.
on the move.
Now, when you move in with the water level, it's good to block the end of the hose, because if you raise your hand too high, all the water is going to come out the other side. So it's good to just put a finger over the end. So I find the contour and Eli rams in the peg. So the end now is not the top of the stick, that's the level line, it's the ground level. So wherever the first peg is in the ground, the second peg is in the ground at the same height. So we find the contour. So the height of the stick I'm using doesn't matter, except for the two that I'm finding the level line with. If I had a spray can, maybe I could just spray a spot on the ground too. But
yeah, so you can mark it.
yeah, but the stick helps because you could see it over some distance. Now, one of the problems with the laser level, the water level, if you knock the hose like Ellie is doing right now, the water jumps. So you don't want to shake the hose around. However, if the water is jumping, just cover the top of the hose so the water will slow down and then slowly release it, because the air has been displaced with yeah. So then level. So the camera is slightly high.
So you
I can see
right here.
I can see. You can have the camera.
Barely.
Yeah. So if it's that level surface here, then it's level on the other side. And Eli is doing his job ramming in the pegs. Now, I want to demonstrate what it is to have a short hose. So my hose is short. That hose is about maybe say 8 feet long. So I can only go 8 feet distance. So what I can do now is I am replacing the first peg. I'm replacing the first peg because that's my level mark. I place it on the stick. Remember, the height of the stick doesn't matter. It's the height at which the stick touches the ground. So Eli is going to replace that one. And the last peg, I'm going to go to the last peg. I'm going to put in the first stick that I use. And I'm going to push it all the way to the mark that I have on it. And just keep repeating the process. Yeah, I made that post hammering thing there. I made that. I saw somebody bought one on YouTube using it. I'm like, wait a minute. I saw something that looked like it could have been, so I welded a top on it. Yeah, and I made that. So creativity is your friend. Trust me, creativity is your friend. Creativity saves you $1 too. All right, so then we continue. So you can stop. Let's keep. Yeah, so continue. So that was yeah. So that with the laser level, it's much easier. Okay. Thank. All right. So then here's the other way. The other way is with an A-frame. Now, with the A-frame, what is important when building the A-frame is to ensure that the distance that you see on left B, 560 millimeters, you have to ensure that on the opposite side of the A-frame, you have the same measurement, the 560 millimeters. How wide it is, how tall it is, really doesn't matter. Another thing you can do is put your A-frame on a level surface.
When you're making it, right?
Yes, when you're making it, and you could rest a level on the E part here, and that would help you zone in your level. But when you have your A-frame on a level surface, you let the line hang down and you mark where the zero is. And zero would be level. Now, the beautiful thing about an A-frame also, it also helps you dig a drain at set elevation. So if I was to put a 2-inch thick piece of stick on the one side, or 2-inch, something 2 inches thick on one side, the line would shift across, and I could mark that and know that whenever the line is here, the difference between the two sides is 2 inches, and you could whatever intervals you want. So then there's another video to show how to use the A-frame to find contour. Now mine, I designed it so that I could use it to make a drain. I could use it to, I could use it for many things. So I can, So I could also use it to find level. And that's how they do. That's the ancient levels.
Yeah. So if you notice the sticks are still there to
Yeah.
pinpoint where the
Water level.
swale would be.
Yeah. So now I'm doing at a different elevation. I'm doing using the A-frame. Now I'm holding the line because the line has a tendency to oscillate. Oscillate is the word? Yeah, pendulate. I don't know what the word is. Yeah, so the line moves. So sometimes I hold the line to take away some of the movements. And Ellie realized I'm holding the line, so she's like, Patty, I can hold the line too. So Ellie will be helping me hold the line a couple of times. Yeah, water level is very accurate.
Yes.
So yeah, so then all I do, I move the end to the very same location that the other side was, and I keep going forward. Some reason, but I guess we wait for after.
Okay, we'll take your hand after the video.
So here, yeah, so as long as that line is in the middle, yes, thank you, Ellie. There you have it. As long as the line is in the middle, then I know I'm level. Now I already saw those levels, so I'll amend my stick even if Ellie
changing the information.
But I'll just because I'll just check it again just to be sure. Yeah, I'll check it. Ellie, thank you. Debbie, can I have it? Debbie, thank you. There we go. So I'll just check it again. All right, so we're good. So then I move. So then just repeat. Put the stick. Ellie, baby. Thank you, baby. You put the stick, the A-frame, sorry, at the location that the last leg of the A-frame was, and just keep repeating, and you could find your contour like that.
I see a hand. Go ahead, and anybody else who has questions, you can feel free to ask your questions.
Yeah, nice family. You're saying that at the end of the
Okay, so
string.
just now, let me. All right.
Yeah.
Say that again. You can start over.
Yeah, I said nice family. At the end of the string, there's a laser.
No,
Right
that's
there.
just a weight. That's just a pendulum. My wife skip the laser part. I don't know why she did that. But she skipped the laser part, but that's just a weight. Just to prevent the string from dangling in the wind, basically.
Yes, so you keep it.
Okay, what I'm saying to you, you could get a bucket of water and steady it. Insert the weight in a bucket of water, and it will steady it.
Or to keep it from shaking, like in the wind.
Oh, that is brilliant.
Yeah, when it's windy.
Yeah.
When it's windy.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's absolutely brilliant. I'll try that. Yeah. So then all I need to be just hang up a small bucket of water and have it in the water.
So it will stop shaking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Let me tell you, learn every day.
Yeah. Thanks so much for sharing.
Not a problem.
Yeah. Wow.
Cool.
I never thought of that before.
Yeah, but that's brilliant. So,
oh yeah, that's absolutely brilliant.
So we just continue to do it until we found the contour.
Yeah,
so you just follow the stick, and you'd be cutting your swale in these places, and your swale would then be level.
I'll just demonstration though. Yeah. Yeah, so the bucket of water.
Yes, the bucket of water would have, yes, especially in that.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Imagine that. I never thought of that.
Yeah, it's really nice to share you learn.
All right. Yeah, okay. So I guess that's we could do that.
Okay, so after you do that, all you need to do now is dig your swale.
Yeah, and yes. So then what you can do is use, since you have a contour line, you could use the actual thickness of the height of the shovel as a gauge as you go along to make sure your surface is level. The other thing you could do is maybe use a board on the floor inside the swale. So the board will show you on edge. So use the board on edge and it will show you the places that are low, places that are high. Just feel the places that are low, places that are high. Or when it rains, you let some water go into the swale and the water will show you where the high and low points are, and you adjust accordingly.
Yes.
I do a lot of that, trust me.
Yeah.
So yeah. Any questions, guys?
Any questions? We're at the end of our presentation for part 1.
Yeah, that's
so
storing water below the ground. And tomorrow we're gonna look at storing water above ground, and that would be your filtration or what have you.
Your rain harvesting.
Rain harvesting, yeah.
So at
No
this,
questions? What?
feel free to ask your questions.
All right. Listen, I don't want to jump it, but you see, when you have a level that is not a suitable soil, can you raise, well, I was planning on raising a bed, but what I'm not sure about is what is the level depth of a fruit tree on a flat where there is no good soil. What would be the level of a fruit tree that you would dump up? Like a citrus tree? How deep the roots go?
Oh, for you to know.
How high, you mean how high to raise the boom?
No, what I'm saying, I have a level which is it is mall. It's not earth, it's mall. Nothing can grow on it. So I was trying to box up like some boxes.
I see. So the place is very wet.
No, it can't grow anything up there. I was trying to create a soil in a box. So I wanted to find out how deep would a citrus area, how deep the citrus roots go, if they go straight down or they spread to what depth.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Citrus does not have taproot, so they spread out along just about 2 feet below the surface. So, but you could use the Ellen White method, and the Ellen White method is digging a hole. They say 3 feet, but it doesn't have to be 3 feet. It doesn't have to be square either. But you dig a hole and you put organic matter in there. What you want to do as well, you want to cover that surface as much as possible, because you want to create a habitat for life. Fertility is closely connected to the amount of life that is in the soil. So how deep? Ellen White said 3 feet deep. I did 2 feet, but I planted vegetables, not fruit trees. So
for our vegetable garden, we need 2 feet, and we put the because the soil was really bad, just like what you're discussing. But what you want to do, you want to add organic matter to the soil. The downside, which I didn't mention the last time, the downside to adding branches and woody material below the surface is that you'll have a lot of nitrogen loss. So what you can do because of that, if you're going to bury stuff underground, then you should plant a lot of beans, a lot of peas, a lot of legumes. Pigeon peas is a good companion. If you want to do that. What do you call it? Pigeon peas, what do you call it again? Red beans.
You know pigeon peas?
Yeah, so, I know, gungo.
Yes,
Gungo is pigeon peas,
Yes.
But I think the soil does nitrogen fixing bacteria in the soil. I think, if I remember.
Yes, that's right. So because that is the downside to putting wood under the soil. It takes nitrogen to break it down. So you want to put in nitrogen fixing plants to balance out the damage that will be caused by putting organic matter under the soil. How deep, I don't know, but I know Ellen White in the Ellen White method, she said to dig a 3 feet deep by 3 feet wide hole. It doesn't have to be square or anything, but close enough. You don't have to measure it with a measuring tape or anything like that. But a 3 feet hole to plant your
but it doesn't have the taproots like the
orange should have taproot. But what you want after that, you don't want to ignore the plant after that. What you want after that is to create enough organic matter on the surface that will cause the same thing you did in the hole to continue on the surface, and the organic matter and the soil color. And a good indication is the color of the soil. If somebody tells you, I just add that they're growing food organically, and you see that soil is yellow, they like it. Organic soil gets darker and darker over time. Yeah, so yeah. But thanks for the question.
So you're saying then don't put it on top of the mall. Dig down into the mall, say 4 by 4 then.
3 by 3, but you could do both. You could do both. The putting it under, it will be quicker. You'll get it the results quicker. But you can also put on top. Yeah. But if
Yeah,
you put
because
it
I was
under
thinking,
the, yeah.
I was thinking, just like how you have the swale, what we do in Jamaica, we use stones and block the water from
Eroding.
coming down
Correct.
fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now,
We
what you
use
can do, since you mentioned that, what you can do is put the branches and the sticks and the leaves and all these other things, you could put them in the soil as well. So when the water gets into the soil and goes under the soil, it also bring in the minerals with it, because the decaying branches and leaves would break down and become compost at some point in its lifespan. And there would be habitat there for microbes and for
So you have a little compost tea.
Yeah.
Working in your.
Yeah, what you need to understand is every time you plant a tree, it takes from the soil to grow. So you have to be able to put it back. That's what you want you to do. And if the soil is not growing food, that means somebody did something there to take out that, or somebody was farming in a way that they were not putting it back.
No, what had happened, right? I scraped the land. I scraped the land to get a level, because
okay. Oh, now I understand. So then now
I actually destroyed the natural habitat of the land.
What you're supposed to do, which is more expensive, is to take off the topsoil, put it aside, level the surface, and spray it back on. That's what you're supposed to do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But the thing is now, I'm learning little by little. I am planning to plant moringa trees so that the nutrients of the leaves will be thrown into the compost, that the compost will be very rich.
That's
Anything
right.
is wrong with that?
Yeah, that's a very good. You could do Glory Cedar can do it as well.
Where?
Glory Cedar.
Glory Cedar?
Yeah.
How you spell
I
that?
don't know what they call it. It has a yellow flower. The wood I was using in the video was Glory Cedar. The only thing about the Glory Cedar, and then sure you cut it up because it grows really well. It helps your plants grow, so it grows really well. There's another one, but the name is not in my mind. I know it by look, but the name is not in my mind. That you can actually mulch it down. Yes, so, but they grow quickly. Another one you could use is Mexican sunflower. You can use that, mulch it as well. Yeah, but we talk about water though, so.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, not a problem.
No, but you feel free to message us or send us an email. We would really love to hear a little bit more about that property that you're working on.
A long scientific name.
Yeah, and of course to be able to share the names of the stuff. My husband doesn't remember right now.
I don't remember the name. It's a long scientific name. Let me tell you, I never remember the name of the thing.
But thank you so much for sharing. I know there's sometimes not many people have questions.
Yeah, but I take all questions.
Yeah, I'm working on it. It's a bit challenging, but I sort of see my plan that I need to do. And I realize water is more important than anything right now. You know, so storage, and you're going to do above soil storage.
Yes.
Next week, right?
Yes, tomorrow, not next week, tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow. Okay,
yeah, tomorrow.
I have to try and catch that, because we in Jamaica, we have black tanks, we have metal tanks, but somebody was saying do white tanks, because white tanks would allow you the water to be cooler, so that you can water the plants without the temperature being 2 degrees. Yeah, and that would damage the whatever. So
the only thing with white tanks, if light gets into the tank, then it will cause the water to get green.
So stick with the black tank, and then find a way to carry down the temperature.
There's many ways you could cool down the temperature of the tank. You could cover it with something else. You could have trees over it. Yeah,
but ours is in the shade.
I think they call it osmosis. If you have whenever water is exposed to light, it will cause osmosis and the water will turn green. Yeah.
But if it's for the garden,
yeah, that's not a problem. Yeah.
That's not a problem, but you know you cannot drink it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the questions. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
What time you start tomorrow?
7 p.m. Eastern time, and
that's Jamaica time, right?
Yes. Our time and yours. We have
no for him
it's 6
for him
o'clock
it's
Jamaica
6. Yeah.
time.
Oh, 6.
Okay.
Yeah. We
that's why
I'm
I am missing it. That's what I'm missing it.
Oh, okay. So it's so it's 6, I'm guessing, for you. So make sure you join us, because we're going to actually have my husband actually designed our water system, 3D water system.
You're going to see our business with it.
So we did our home, and you can actually see the tanks and how they used, so that you can assess your own water needs, and also come back and find out how much of the storage tanks I might be even looking at for me to have on my water system.
Okay.
And if I'm going to supplement, if I don't want to collect all the water I need for the garden and for my home, I can decide, okay, I'm going to use ponds for the garden, and I'm going to use the rain harvesting or the tanks for inside my home, since I can filter it easier and have it more controlled. So we're going to be doing a lot that tomorrow, especially. So we want you to stay tuned. So if you have your friends that you know that are interested in rain harvesting in your area and you want to learn more about it, feel free to join us tomorrow so that you can get all the information about that.
Oh, one thing I must add. When you build your swales, people think you're doing magic, because they'll see water leaving this valley and going all the way onto this edge. What they will not know is that the entire thing is level, because you actually cannot see it. Well, to the untrained eye, you cannot see that it's level going up that hill there, because it looks like going up the hill. So that's amazing. I know a lot of people that do swales, and people are like, what is this that you're doing? How you make the water climb the hill?
But what we will do, we'll take some more swale pictures for you tomorrow. So we'll do some revision, and then we're going to go into the session for tomorrow. So those who maybe did not completely understand it or didn't see how it works, we can probably get you some before and after pictures of persons who use swales to actually regenerate their property and their soil. So you have to come tomorrow for you to find out.
Good night.
Good night.
Can I have the email address, please?
Okay, it's narrowwaylife@gmail.com or mitra@narrowwaylife.com. So you could use either one of them. And feel free to visit our website as well. So you can view the video and the sessions that you've missed as well.
You can put a question in the forum too.
Yes, you can.
Guys, question. I was trying to go over Thursday nights because I was kind of in between laundry and the sessions. So, but I couldn't see
Thursday nights.
On
the website, I think I uploaded it a little bit late, but if you go on the website now, it should be there now.
All right, sure, thanks.
Actually, I ask a question. When the other person's finished talking?
6, they said. For you, it's 6 o'clock.
Yes, 6 p.m. for you.
But I'm asking a question now. Is a sort of emerges the question.
Okay, go ahead.
A power saw is a very relevant tool on a property, right?
Yes.
What brand would you use? Because you don't want to be having something we're breaking down. But what brand would you use?
Okay, first of all, because power saw, people refer to a chainsaw as a power saw, and they refer to a circular saw. Which one you mean by power saw?
Chain. What do you call that? Crank driven.
Yeah.
Motor driven. Yeah.
Well, I have a steel 660, so I kind of might be biased to steel, but that's kind of like the most popular down here. However, Husqvarna is also a good brand. If you want a cheap,
No, not cheap. Not cheap.
cheap imitation, there's
Craftsman.
there's what's the name, Major? Farm Tech. They copy all the steel and Husqvarna swords, and they make a version of it. But that's the two brands I'd recommend. However, I know people I'd recommend Poland to you. They tell you Poland is a good brand and they stand by the Poland. So I don't know. I guess that is based on people preference, but I know what the rule is. Get a saw that you can somebody in your area can service.
For you.
So if you buy a saw and nobody service it, then that's a problem. So buy a saw that you have people that service it in your area. I think that's the better way.
That would be the okay. So Craftsman.
Yeah.
So Craftsman is a good brand too.
I've never used Craftsman, so I don't know. But if you could find somebody that service it in your area, then
that is the key. All right, cool. Not a problem. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the questions. I'm really appreciating them and loving them.
Composting.
Yes, I love them.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much everyone for joining us this evening.